All right, I guess we can get started. Welcome everyone to join us today. What we are having here is AWS Sumo Logic Cloud Security Information and Event Management Immersion Day. My name is Tony Song. I'll be your host today. I am a Senior ISV Technology Partner Success Architect. I have spent my past 20 years in the IT security industry. I'm based out of New York City, and at AWS, I create and manage scalable programs to promote our strategic ISV technology partners. In today's session, we'll work together to explore Cloud SIEM powered by AWS, learn how to modernize your security operational center for multi-cloud and the hybrid cloud using this Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM solutions. For the folks just joined back, sorry about the a quick technical issue we had with Zoom, and hopefully you get back on track with your computer and everything, and you didn't miss anything. We just get started. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat window. So if you are a current AWS customer, you maybe already know about AWS Immersion Day. This is a technical workshop we deliver on site to help unlock potential challenges you ran into during your cloud adoption journey. It was only focused on AWS native services before. In early 2020, we decided to expand the Immersion Day programs by including our ISV technology partners and their solutions within our catalog of available content modules. We worked closely with our partners to provide similar solutions, and our strategic ISV technology partners can build their product on top of AWS platforms via APIs and the industry standard protocols. This relationship allows our technology partners' product and the solutions runs at a native speed, just as any AWS native services. And today's Immersion Day is a showcase to demonstrate just that. So customer speaks, we listen. From this 2019 data, as you can see from the deck I shared, we can tell that about 42% of our customer engagement that we had was related to our ISV technology partners. And out of those, 6% were focused on information security and compliance. So if you consider our huge customer base, this is really a big number. So we reach out to our top ISV technology partners to include their product and the solutions into this very successful AWS programs to assist our common customers in your cloud adoption journey. So what is the goal of this event? The program goal is really to provide our customers with a hands-on experience on a joint AWS plus technology partner solutions, and is specifically designed to help our common customers during your cloud adoption journey. We really want to get our customers technology team, you guys, and together with our partner technology team and AWS technology team in the one room and to exchange ideas. And we try to do deep dive into services and the solutions with common customer use cases as well. So AWS Immersion Days leverage a modular content format, allow you to select from ready-made presentations and labs that fits better to your IT environment. And it's a very hands-on focus, so you will see, as we progress into today. So here's a quick agenda. I'm doing the introduction here, and if you joined late or due to this technical challenge, don't worry about it. You didn't miss anything. The real contents come, after my talk. And then, our AWS specialist, Dilip, and with the Sumo, SME will do the introduction on the Cloud SIEM. For the folks who may not familiar with this concept, or are you familiar with the traditional on-prem SIEM, but you want to know what's special in the Cloud SIEM. And then, as you can see, for the rest of them, we really focus on the hands-on labs. And from there, hopefully you can learn how the SIEM provided by Sumo Logic can help you in your typical IT environment. And then, our partner definitely also offer a certification exam. Once you pass that, you will get a nice looking certification as a part of the program. So today's speaker, here's our today's speaker. I will let them briefly introduce themselves. Dilip, you want to go next?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Tony, and thanks for joining this this workshop, work lab, however you want to call it. My name is Dilip Raj, and I'm a senior partner solutions architect. I'm aligned with the APN, the partner network team at Amazon Web Services, and I work very closely with all of our data and analytics partners. Sumo Logic is a very, very important partner for us, and we want to help solve problems for our customers. I'm based here out of Dallas, Texas, and I'm happy to help sort of guide you through this journey of Cloud SIEM on the Cloud SIEM with Sumo and AWS.
Thanks, John. You're gonna go ahead.
Sorry, did you say John? Okay. My name is John Meredith. I am a member of the education team here at Sumo Logic. I am based out of my home here in Bedford, New Hampshire on the East Coast. And I will be presenting to you later, basically walking you through the various tools. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Tim.
Hi, hi everybody. My name is Tim McDonald. I'm the director of the partner architect team here at Sumo Logic. I work with all of our partners, including AWS, extensively on all things technical, including partner enablement. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Tim. So before I hand over to our next speaker, just want to go through a few housekeeping things. The first one is the lunch or the lunch break. We try to keep it quick, only 15 minutes, but still we want to offer you a complimentary $25 Uber Eats voucher. I will send to you after this in about an hour or so, and you should receive it in the email that you register to the events. And then we'll have a quick event survey. And for the survey, we really appreciate you fill out that one. It's a really quick one. I will share the link, again, right after my speech here. And it only take less than 2 minutes to fill out. It's just a checkbox. If you could help us to getting that fill out, is really going to help us a lot. With that said, again, just for the folks that joined a little bit late, we're in a webinar setting. So if you have any questions that you want to get an answer on, so feel free to use the chat window. But if you do see a lot of chat going on, you're a little bit worried your answer not, your question not getting answered properly. There's also Q&A, button there. You can use that to get your question answered. We'll definitely get you question answered, and we'll also let you know, how to follow up after the events, so that way you can keep contact with us. So with that said, Dilip, I'm going to stop sharing here, and you can take it over from here.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm going to share my desktop first. All right.
That's nice looking desktop, man.
All right, let's see. Can you guys see the screen?
It looks good.
Fantastic. All right. Let me get started now. Thank you so much, everybody, again for joining. Love to take you through some of the AWS best practices with respect to security. Really, I think the goal here, and as AWS has evolved over the many incarnations, we've understood that customers have very complicated and complex environments, and it's important to provide a set of best practices for how to set up your security in a multi-account environment. And for that, really, AWS has come out recently with a security reference architecture. And I'd like to sort of take you through the high-level hit points. It's a very detailed architecture. I'll provide a reference link as well. But I don't want to sort of go into the very specific details. I'll try to provide the most important set of information that will be relevant here. And I'll also tie it off with something that we've developed with Sumo Logic extensively. The goal really from my part of the presentation is to give you a sort of a high-level overview of the security reference architecture. So I'm going to first start by depicting for you what the security reference architecture is going to talk about from an AWS organization perspective. As kind of briefly mentioned before, that it is a sort of best practices for aligning our security services. And it's sort of meant to help you design and implement your security references. So if you see this AWS organizational structure, you can see in this slide all of the major organizational units. Starting to the top left, you'll have the organizational management unit. You'll have, for the security itself, you'll have the security tooling account and log archival account. And of course, you'll have the infrastructure account, which contains the shared services of your network account, network infrastructure, as well as your application workloads towards the bottom left. The goal of this organizational structure in a traditional multi-account environment is to sort of have the guardrails and segmentation of the various functions. From a security perspective, what we want to do is we want to centralize these guardrails and best practices into a few security accounts, namely the security tooling and the log archival account. On the top, towards the top left, you'll see the organizational management account. Really, the purpose of the organizational management account is for billing and for sort of general management. But individually, you will have to delegate different types of administrator accounts for having security or for having various sort of log archival, that type of functionality within the AWS organization. I also pasted here a link to the security reference architecture, which can take you through the comprehensive capabilities required for you to support a multi-account environment. For the next couple of slides, I'll take you through the security tooling account and the log archival account, and kind of give you an overview of what is the best way to set this up. So if you see the security tooling account, the objective of the security tooling account is to create that centralized location where all of the intelligence from the security services can be collated into a centralized location, and a centralized SOC team will be responsible for all of the information that is coming into that particular security account, and they can take the mitigation steps required to ensure that any security threats that have been detected during the security lifecycle can easily be identified and then mitigated. This can be done through a functionality called as delegate administrator. So I briefly talked to you about the organization management account. They have the exclusive capability to identify delegate admins. And the purpose of the delegate admins is to be the sort of guardian for that particular service that you are interested in. For example, if you're using the security hub, it provides you the comprehensive view of your security state in AWS and helps you sort of prevent against the threats that are there as per the security best practices, as well as industry and AWS best practices. So for this, the best practice is to identify a delegate admin, and then in that delegate admin is identified at a security tooling account level, and you would be then in the position to consume information from various member accounts once you have the delegate admin set up. Similarly, for guard duty, which is another service for threat detection, for monitoring malicious activity or unauthorized behavior, for example, port scanning or something like that, if it's taking place, then guard duty can help you identify those type of findings. And the objective of the security tooling account through a delegate admin is to ensure that all of the findings from your member accounts can be collated into a centralized security account, and that's where you can do your findings investigation, as well as you can do threat detection and mitigation. Another service which is worth mentioning is config, which is it sort of helps you assess and audit and evaluate various configurations of your AWS services. So for example, if you have made a change to an AWS services, that config collates all of that information. And again, with the delegate admin capability within AWS config, within the security account, you can identify all of these various types of security configurations and the information that you're getting. And that way you can evaluate your configuration changes against the desired configuration. So this is sort of high level overview. We've got various other services here as well, including EventBridge and KMS and Lambda. So they're sort of meant to help you automate the response. So in case if you do identify an event, what happens with that? What happens when you have multiple events? Do you want to have different type of rules? EventBridge can help you with that. Lambda as an event function events as a function service can also help you take care of that. And with the KMS, you can provide additional capabilities with key management services. With the security tooling account, your SOC team can be in a position to centrally manage all of the findings. But also what's important is that you have a immutable storage for all of your logs that you're getting. So what this means is that with a log archival account, you have a dedicated location for ingesting all of your security related logs and backups. Most of this time, it's with Amazon S3. And this is the place where it acts as an immutable storage. And the objectives of this particular cloud, the log archival account is pretty straightforward, that it is a storage solution that is immutable. It also provides you the durability and controlled automation of events that takes place from the log archival account through the S3 bucket. You can have a variety of logs, and as an example, you can have logs from a Cloud Trail, which is organizational trail. You can have VPC flow logs from Amazon VPC. You can also have access logs from Amazon CloudFront, or you could have DNS logs from Route 53. All of these logs can be collated into one centralized location, and it acts as this durable storage for auditing and compliance purposes as well. Maybe a quick example for this would be, let's say, a network has been identified for port scanning or for unidentified IP address intrusion, and that type of information would be stored in this log archival account. So, just definitely it's important that as you progress in your journey for a multi-account environment, you can take a look at this reference architecture and see whether how close are you to meeting the requirements that are provided in these best practices. It may or may not suit all of your requirements and considerations. In some cases, you might not want to have pieces of information in the log archival account, or you might think it's redundant. And you may not necessarily want to keep that information here, but it certainly provides, this reference architecture provides you that sort of umbrella of various best practices that can help you guide you in your journey. I want to sort of pivot towards the guard duty example that I briefly talked about in slide number 2, where we talked about collating multiple events from various member accounts. I just want to show you a flow of how the guard duty multi-account setup can be enabled, and how Sumo Logic actually helps us consume all those findings from multiple accounts into their environment. So if you take a look at this flow, in this flow, the first step is that from the organizational management account, you would identify a guard duty delegate admin. It could be any account, as long as it's an account within the organization itself. Once that account has been identified, we will go to the AWS console, and through the AWS console, we can go into the guard duty organizational member accounts and add all the members that for whom you'd like to enable guard duty. Once this happens, then all of the member accounts will start funneling all of their events and findings to the guard duty delegate admin. And once that information flows into guard duty delegate admin through the guard duty events processor, which is nothing but a combination of CloudWatch event rules as well as Lambda functions, that information or all those findings from various member accounts will start flowing into the Sumo hosted collector, thereby providing all of the ability for you to consume information into the rich dashboarding capabilities of Sumo through their hosted collector. Of course, this functionality is right now available out of the box. Instead of having to go and configure various hosted collectors in each and every account, you don't have to do that. You have the ability of simply deploying this in one delegate admin account, and all of the findings would eventually flow into Sumo Logic. This is a current integration. This integration currently exists with Sumo Logic and AWS today. And certainly worth mentioning that we are working on other services such as Security Hub and Config that could provide you the same capabilities through a delegate account setup. And this way, you will have the capabilities of Sumo from an ingestion perspective. You can have multiple regions. You can have all of that data being collated into Sumo, and you'll also have the rich dashboarding capabilities from Sumo itself as well that can enhance your threat detection and investigation capabilities. Really, that's really where I wanted to end this presentation. I wanted to give you a high-level overview of the security reference architecture, what it entails. It is very comprehensive. There are many code repos as well that can help you automate some of the setup. And I wanted to share with you how the guard duty setup can be enhanced with Sumo Logic and provide you the best of both worlds capability. With that, I would like to hand it back to Tim. Tim, if you'd like to take over the next couple of slides, that'd be great.
Yep. John is going to go ahead and share those slides. Thank you, John. So before we turn it over to John and let him, show you the product and take you through the exercises, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, the challenges that this solution is meant to address. and SimoLogic has determined that as organizations have expanded their digital footprint to include, cloud platforms such as AWS, they've struggled with their existing security tooling, right? Last generation security tools and SIEMs really just weren't designed for, cloud scale data volumes. And those tools also generated, massive volumes of alerts, which then had to be prioritized and investigated by hand. And there just aren't enough security experts or security analysts in the world to investigate every alert. So, things were being left on the table, things were being prioritized incorrectly, etc. So SimoLogic has created this Cloud SIEM powered by AWS to address both of these issues, right? So it is a multi-cloud SIEM. So even though this is a solution that is hosted in AWS, we can ingest data from any place, including on-premises and SaaS solutions and all cloud services. It's 100%, as I mentioned, it's 100% hosted in AWS. But which means that no matter where the data is coming from, it's being processed and analyzed in the AWS service. And we can leverage all of the existing AWS security services. In fact, we rely on them. So we can ingest things like, obviously, like CloudTrail, GuardDuty, AWS Config, Security Hub, Network Firewall, all of the services that Dilip mentioned, and probably more. And in fact, the base level requirements for this are, in fact, CloudTrail and GuardDuty. Next slide, please. So we realize that not every organization is at the same place in its hybrid cloud journey. So some organizations are quite mature, and some other just starting out, and some are in between. And for those that are starting out, they may be looking to augment an existing on-prem investment as they shift into the cloud, or they may just simply not have a solution. So for these reasons, we've actually provided two different offerings, one of which builds on the other one. So these are dependent on a customer's security process maturity, and these are called the SimoLogic Cloud SIEM and the SimoLogic Cloud SIEM Advanced. So the Cloud SIEM offering is targeted at customers that are not operating a security operations center, but still need a solution that can analyze logs and events from infrastructure and from other security tooling like endpoint protection and so on and so forth. And it provides those security analytics without specifically being targeted at a SOC and at SOC analysts. Whereas the Cloud SIEM Advanced still provides all of those features that the Cloud SIEM provides. And in fact, you see the graphic is specifically designed to show that there's overlap. The Cloud SIEM is the data lake for the Cloud SIEM Advanced. The Cloud SIEM Advanced provides an additional level of functionality that adds features like data normalization, rules-based correlation, and an interface that's specifically targeted at the security operations center. And so they come together to provide something that we call adaptive signal clustering, which uses a entity and severity-based model combined with machine learning to prioritize alerts and minimize false positives. So what we're attempting to address with this is to ensure that we're not, having to prioritize and process thousands of alerts every day, or tens of thousands. We're shrinking that down by leveraging the automation of the product and the machine learning in the product to provide a manageable amount of alerts to reduce alert fatigue. And I think with that, we can turn this over to John Meredith, who's going to take you through the product and take you through the lessons. Over to you, John.
Thank you very much, Tim. So, as I said, my name is John Meredith. I'm part of the training team here at SimoLogic. And so We're going to talk about Cloud SIEM and the Cloud SIEM Advanced powered by AWS. So let's break it down for you here a little bit. Our game plan, our agenda, is we're going to give a little overview of what is Sumo Logic, and then I'm going to walk into a security demo. And I'll demonstrate some security things and that sort of thing. Then we're going to have you all log in, and we're going to sit there and do some security analytics with Cloud SIEM itself. So we're going to do a demonstration of the AWS GuardDuty application. We're going to install an application, a CrowdStrike threat intel app. We're going to show you some of the queries that make these applications and these queries up. We're going to test some of that. We're going to monitor a user login from different IP address. So we're going to do a lot of hands-on, and these are designed to be hands-on exercises. In fact, let me make it a little easier here to do the hands-on exercises. Just bear with me a moment. I am posting up to the chat box a PDF document. And for those of you who can download that PDF document, feel free to, because that's going to walk us through what we're going to do before our refreshment break. Like I said, we'll take a 15-minute refreshment break. And then after that 15-minute refreshment break, we're going to focus on the Cloud SIEM Advanced. And we're going to go through a Cloud SIEM Advanced guided investigation. And then I'm going to ask you all to do an independent investigation, give you about 7 to 10 minutes, and have you guys use the tool to tell me what is going on there, what the story is. Then I'll show you a little bit of a little conversation here about rule tuning and rules, because that's where you can customize things a little bit in this Cloud SIEM Advanced product. And then we'll summarize and wrap up, answer any questions and stuff that you might have. And then the last 30 minutes, we've got an exam for you to take so that you can become certified in this information. It's a 20-question exam and should take you about 30 minutes. It's not terribly difficult, and hopefully I'll make it a point to answer a lot of the questions as I'm going through the presentation. So that is our game plan. Again, as Tim and Tony and Dilip mentioned, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box or the Q&A box. So, and Tim and company will address those questions. So what is Sumo Logic, and what, why do we care? Well, obviously our focus today is on security intelligence. Where are our users logging in from, with their IP addresses? Where are they geographically located? Does it make sense? If they're logging in within a short period of time from multiple IP addresses that are separated by distances, significant distances, hopefully little alarm bells go off in your head that says something's not right there. And so this is just one aspect of our product. And so we can look at security intelligence, where users log in from, what computer types are they logging in from, where are they logging in, answers the typical questions. Additionally, we also can deal with operational intelligence, right? Are our systems up, our systems down? You'll find that we've got applications and stuff that allow you to see your AWS environment through a single pane of glass. So regardless how many accounts you have, environments and that sort of thing, you get a sense for what's the well-being and health of your AWS environment. Of course, we also focus on good old business intelligence, where again, if you've got web servers or you're processing certain business elements, what are my customers buying? What are they interested in? That sort of thing. And you'll also find in this tool that under global intelligence, we can look at a very high level across operational intelligence, security intelligence, and business intelligence to see how you're doing compared to others in your industry or others in your geography. So again, maybe looking at your overall security intelligence, maybe there's some sort of a malicious malware event happening. And so we can see, at a very high level, how many folks in the geographical area might be affected or impacted. Again, you all probably are coming in here from some sort of a security role, but you might be, a product manager, you might be IT ops, whatever role you are in, you'll find that you can use Sumo Logic for basically anything that you need. Again, your data is in applications, it's in the cloud. Maybe you're running various software as a service applications like Salesforce or other things. Again, you could also have, infrastructure on-prem type equipment. You got mobile devices. We don't care where the data is. If it generates logs and it generates metrics, we can receive that information and we can turn it into insight for you, turn it into actionable insight. Now, as Tim mentioned, Sumo Logic does run on an AWS environment. So we scale up, scale out as we need to. You don't have to worry about that. You'll find that we've got a bunch of API functionality in our product. So you can programmatically create users or programmatically deploy collectors and things like that if you need to. through our APIs. We can also take advantage of other products' APIs. For example, if we have an alert, we can send that alert to Slack or Teams or other products so that we integrate with their APIs. And you'll find probably the biggest component of our product is our compliance. We have achieved SOC 2 compliance, CSA star compliance, PCI compliance. Recently, we were certified as FedRAMP moderate authorized. So we take that very, very seriously, as I'm sure you do. So that is probably the crown of our, or the jewel in our crown here, that gives you some idea of that we take our security and your data very seriously. It's all protected. Okay. So today, what we're going to talk about here, of course, when you talk about security, you typically talk about audit and compliance, right? And we have audit and compliance built into our product. It's part of our Cloud SIEM. We've got a bunch of dashboards and applications that you can use to see how am I doing with regards to my compliance requirements, my audit compliance, things like that. So our focus today, though, is going to be pretty much on the Cloud SIEM, at least before the break. We're going to talk about searches and dashboards and alerts and queries, and we're going to focus on that sort of stuff so we can see basically what's happening. And then after our break, we're going to get into the Cloud SIEM Advanced. And this, of course, as you might look, if you look closely, has a nice big heads-up display, and it basically synthesizes a bunch of records, a bunch of log entries coming in. And these log entries come into the Cloud SIEM, and they get processed, and we correlate those into signals. And then if the signal, we correlate them with IP address or by various entities, and we create insights from them. And those insights typically tell us some sort of a security story, some sort of a problem that we'll investigate. So we're going to walk after the break into this Cloud SIEM Advanced. And we're going to walk through, and you can see firsthand how that works. As Tim mentioned earlier, if you have the Cloud SIEM Advanced, you obviously have all of this. If you've got the Cloud SIEM, you've got the Cloud SIEM and audit and compliance. It's just a question of where you are with regards to whether or not you have a security operations center and that sort of thing. So when we talk about Cloud SIEM, we typically talk about we need to be able to do some searching, right? We're going to create some queries in this tool looking at our security data to see, where are my users logging in from? What IP address? Can I correlate that to some latitudes and longitudes? Yes, I can. Can I correlate those IP addresses through CrowdStrike and see maybe what malicious activities and stuff I might be seeing? Yes, we can. That is all built into our product. From those searches, we then can build panels and build dashboards. So a dashboard is nothing more than a combination of different panels. Each panel represents a query, which represents a search. And we're basically displaying some information. The old adage of one picture is worth 1,000 words comes into play here. And you'll find that in the Sumo Logic property, or the Cloud SIEM by AWS product, that we do have a lot of advanced analytics. We have a predict analytic feature. We've got a log reduce, log compare, a whole bunch of advanced analytics you can use to help you troubleshoot, respond, investigate, and take the action and stuff that you need when you find a security event. So you'll find that Sumo Logic has a bunch of pre-built applications, what we call apps, over about 200 of them. And many of them deal with AWS and AWS type systems, but they also deal with other things like Okta and OneLogin and various other security type systems, so that we can see and provide you some dashboards and information as far as how things go. Now, like I said, when we get into the tool, I'll talk about these applications in a bit more detail. But we've got a lot of out-of-the-box applications, which hopefully will get you somewhere between 70 and 90% of where you need to be. And then if you need to go in and customize a specific visualization or a specific query or something to reflect your data to get it closer to 100%, you can certainly do that. That's our goal. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk you through a demo of just a demo here in our demo environment of just using Sumo Logic here to see what kind of threats and stuff you have. So bear with me a second while I stop my slides. And again, in a little while, I'm going to ask you all to log in and play and that sort of thing. But for right now, just go ahead and watch here for a second. And of course, it logged me out because I was inactive for a while. Okay. Makes good sense. So here I am in my demo environment, and here in my demo environment, I can look at a dashboard here that we built that provides us information about our security information that we're getting from AWS. Now, this isn't anything really fancy. It's not, guard duty or any of those really powerful tools. We've got some guard duty in here, but basically it's a combination of everything. So where are my users logging in from, right? So I can drill in here if I need to and see it breaks my numbers down. So I can get a sense for where my folks are logging in from. Now, again, if you're a worldwide organization like AWS and Sumo, this probably makes sense. But maybe there's some areas, some geography areas that you want to make sure people are not logging in from. Additionally, when they're logging in from various IP addresses, we can correlate that with CrowdStrike. And so we can look those IP addresses up in CrowdStrike and see if there's a malicious confidence indicated with those IP addresses. And we can report out on that. So within 60 minutes, we got a high IP address and a low IP address. That again causes us some concern. Now, one thing you're going to see that we've got lots of data on here, lots of potentially concerning data. This is a training environment, right? It's a training environment. It's designed to have concerning data. Hopefully in your environment, it won't be quite so bad. It'll probably be really good. But in our environment, we like to tell the good story here. So additionally, I have a user that logged in, this particular user, and within the last 3 hours, they logged in from these 2 different IP addresses. One of those IP addresses in the United States, one of those IP addresses in Egypt. So hopefully, logically, you say, that's not possible. I can't go from the United States to Egypt. You may refer to this as a Superman or a land speed type violation situation, where somebody logs in from one location and within an impossible short time, they log in from another location. That just doesn't make sense. So obviously, I can reach out to this individual, see what's going on. Where are they? Have they, maybe their account's compromised, that sort of thing. Down here, I can look at the volume sent by my S3 bucket. By the way, in these legends, if I want to, I can use these legends to turn on or turn off certain data points so I can focus on what I need to focus on. Over here on the right, I've got my guard duty logs, basically telling me what's happening. Down here, I can see my VPC flow data. And this is an outlier diagram that shows us, here's your data points, that's the line and such. And then we build a cloud around it, which is a mathematical standard deviation. And if I exceed, I'm outside that cloud, we indicate these outliers in red triangles. So I can see, my expected volume, and based on my volume, I'm getting some outliers in my traffic. And again, the question is why? Over here, of course, I can see my firewall traffic. And as you might imagine, my bytes received is far greater than my bytes sent. But of course, if I turn off my bytes received, this automatically scales to show me my bytes sent. And again, looking for uniformity, looking for issues, things along those lines. Down here, we can look at anti-malware event history. How many files have we cleaned, have we quarantined, have we denied access to across the last 3 hours, or whatever time frame that I want or you want. I can also look at my integrity monitoring event history to see what sort of issues I've had that are designated as high or critical or low, that sort of thing over, again, a specific period of time. So each one of these panels that you see here in this dashboard, and there are, 9 of these panels, right? 3 here and then 6 below. 9 of these panels, each one of these panels represents a query. And that becomes the heart of this tool. Now, what I would like to do is I'd like you all to log in, and I'd like you all to play around here a little bit. We're going to go through some exercises. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this as credentials and I'm going to put it in the chat box. So I'm going to paste this information in the chat box. And I realized if I sent up that document, I just sent it to the panelist. Hang on, let me fix that again. Apologize. I sent it to the wrong folks. There we go. So there is the PDF document that you can download, and you can basically see what we're going to do. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to fire up a Google Chrome or Firefox browser. So launch a Google Chrome or Firefox browser. And I'd like you to type in the URL service.sumologic.com. That's service.sumologic.com. And when you do that, it should give you this sort of screen. It says, I need an email address and I need a password. Now, for the email address, what I'd like you to do is pick a 3-digit number. Starting, you can pick 001, 002, 003. Don't really care which number you pick. Those of you who might be in the UK might grab 007 for nostalgic reasons. I live in New Hampshire. The area code for the state is 603, so I'd grab 603. But I'd like you to grab a 3-digit number, and I'd like you to type it in the chat box. So that way we know what number you want to take, okay? Just to help us out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to log in with that number. You're going to log in as training plus analyst with that 3-digit number. So just for fun here, I'll log in with 603 at sumologic.com. So it's an email address. And then the password is, and actually I'll show it here so you can see it. The password is currently capital SUMO, capital SUMMER, numeral 2, numeral 1, exclamation mark. Sumo Summer 21, exclamation mark. And with that, you should be able to click the sign in button and it should log you in. Now, this is our training environment where you and I and others can play and see and work and have ourselves a good time. And by the way, feel free if you want to log into this environment tomorrow or the next day and show your colleagues or something, some information. You're certainly welcome to do so. Okay. One thing I will mention to you is the password will change. The password changes every month. And it changes right now. We just changed the password for July. So when we get around to August, the first Monday in August, it will change again, just so you know. And if you want to know what that password is, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us and we can provide that information to you. Okay. Okay. For some of you who are getting the messages, please verify your credentials. That means there's something wrong with your username or your password. Try a different number and or check your password. So yeah, if you get a message that says verify your credentials, it's because there's an issue where it's not working for you. Doesn't like that username and password. So try a different number. Please verify that it's training plus analyst with the 3-digit number, 3 digits, not 2, at sumologic.com. And then the password is capital SUMO, capital SUMMER, no space, numeral 2, numeral 1, exclamation mark. And again, if it's easier for you, you can copy that stuff right out of the chat box. Okay. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a poll to make sure that you all are able to log in. So my poll's open. If you would, if you're logged in, let me know. If you're having problems, please let us know that as well. But otherwise, I expect you guys are able to log in and go to town here. Okay. So again, give me a number here in the chat box. Thank you very much. They're all 3-digit numbers. Looks like 28 of you are in. 3 of you want me to repeat the instructions. Not a problem. Let me kill the poll for right now. And so if I log out of here, if I go and fire up a Google Chrome or Firefox browser, and I type in service.sumologic.com, it's going to take me to this page right here. And this page wants me to log in, wants you to log in. And what I want you to do is I want you to pick a 3-digit number, any 3-digit number from 001 to 999. It's got to be a 3-digit number. Okay. It's one of the rules. And then you're going to log in with training plus analyst with that 3-digit number. Now, just for fun, I'll grab 235 at sumologic.com. It's got to be an email address. So training plus analyst with that 3-digit number at sumologic.com. And then the password, if I enable this so I can see my password, that was an old password, we'll get rid of that. The password is capital SUMO, capital SUMMER, numeral 2, numeral 1, exclamation mark. And you should be able to log in. Now, just so you know, if any of you having problems logging in, I just logged in with 603 and I just logged in with 235. You are welcome to have either one of those numbers if you need them. But we want you to log in. Personally, I'm going to log in with my Sumo Logic account. So I'm an employee. I can do that. I'm a trainer. I use this environment all the time. Okay. Okay. Paul, you're having problems here. I see that. Still no luck. Paul, can you put in the chat box here what your log, what username you're using, the whole thing, please. Paul, you're in. Excellent. Good to hear it. Okay, great. So it's 500. 999 didn't work. Yeah, I think the higher numbers didn't get a good reset this time. So if you're grabbing 999, 998, 972, anything starts with a 9, you probably want to grab something lower. Okay. So it looks like everybody's getting in here. Let me run my poll one more time. And again, I want to give you guys an opportunity to play. It's a lot more fun to interact and do exercises together rather than watching somebody do this and, just kind of hang out. So I've got the poll open. If you would, let me know if you're all in. I also recognize that many of you maybe gotten tapped on the shoulder during this presentation and a work issue has come up. So maybe you can't log in. I understand. I get that. You're busy with work. I feel your pain. I've been there, done that. So excellent. Thank you all for sharing your numbers. A couple of you have 500, but that's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. So right now I show 43, 45, 46. We're all logged in, and that's terrific. So I'm going to give it about another 15 seconds. Again, if you're having problems, let us know. And again, I do appreciate your efforts. So terrific. So 54 of you are logged in. 55 now. Thank you. I think it's a lot more fun. I think it's a lot more fun to log in and interact with these exercises rather than, like I said, watch somebody else do it. So we want to make this as interactive and fun for you as possible. By the way, that handout that you've got, that PDF document, like I said, is yours to keep. And you are certainly welcome to come back and play with these again if you want. But let me go ahead and end my poll. And let me share my results. Whenever I do a poll, I want to share the results. I want to be as transparent as I possibly can. So you can see here that out of the folks that have answered, 43% of you say you're in, didn't have to copy anything. 13 of you said you do. You had to copy things. Nobody's indicating a problem here. So I'm going to assume that everybody who wants to be in is in fact in. Okay. Somebody asked, where's the PDF? I'll put it up again. So just bear with me a second. I'm going to put it in the chat box. So I'm uploading the PDF right now. And thank you, Stacy, for uploading as well. So should have the PDF up there. You guys can download it. So let's talk about this interface real quick. And a couple of things I want to show you that before we get involved in the first couple of demos. So here I am logged into the Cloud SIEM powered by AWS environment. And here is my navigation pane on my left. Now, the navigation pane is not open for you right now. It's closed like it is here on mine. You can click up here where it says Sumo Logic. You can click on the hamburger menu and it will open right up. So that's how you open it up. And if you want to close it to give yourself more screen space, you can hit the left turn signal there and it closes it up. So pretty simple to get around. Now, this navigation pane does two things for us. Okay. Cynthia, it's still not working for you. What account are you using? What are you logging in as? There you go. Somebody's going to help you out there, Cynthia. So here in the environment, this is my library tab. This is where we can share and collaborate, put dashboards and folders and searches and containers and all kinds of stuff to organize stuff that we can all see and we can all access. Here's your personal folder. So this is a personal area where you can save things if you want to. Even if it's in your personal folder, you'll find that you can share it with others. So even if it's in your personal folder, people can still access it if you want. Here's how I mark things as a favorite. There's an area for my favorites, my bookmarks, if you will. We can talk in another class about how to mark favorites and bookmarks. And then over here, I can see recently opened by me, different icons. These greenish icons here are legacy dashboards. The bluish icons are our new dashboards. These orange reddish things down here are my queries. So I can see what I recently opened, and I can also switch and see things that have been recently shared with me. So I can see what things I share or whether I've recently opened them. So this is quickly our navigation pane. Now, below our navigation pane is our app catalog. And earlier I'd mentioned that here's the apps that we have that you can, I can, we can install, and we can look at the data. And I'm going to come back to that in the second activity. So we're going to come back and visit that. One thing I do want to mention to you here, just bear with me a second. Okay. Victor, if you locked out your account, just grab a different number. So thank you. Down here where it says manage data and manage collection, one of the more powerful features of our product is that we can collect data. Obviously, if you're on the cloud, it's very simple. They're hosted collectors. And in these hosted collectors, we can very easily add additional sources. And as you can see, we've got a whole host of sources dealing with AWS and dealing with various other products that are cloud-based. So grabbing data from AWS things is very easy in Sumo Logic. Okay, very easy. And you can even grab things that aren't in the cloud if you want to. So that's what our collectors indicate, what data and information we have coming in. And as I said, we make getting data from AWS and other cloud-based things very, very easy. So the other things down here we'll talk about later. But again, if you were curious about our documentation or something like that, you could go into help, you can go into documentation. And if you wanted to go into our documentation at the very root, if you will, is you can just type in the URL help.sumologic.com. And so under help.sumologic.com, you'll see that our security as far as a product is basically embedded throughout this, but again, managing security and other things is embedded here. This after our break, when we get into the Cloud SIEM Enterprise, this is the chapter on that. The Cloud SIEM Enterprise is really the advanced Cloud SIEM. So that's we'll see that here in a little bit. But just wanted to show you that's going on. So that's our documentation. Just thought I'd mention it to you. Now, what I want to do, what I want us to do is we are going to go and see this Cloud SIEM powered by AWS in action. That's what we want to do. All right. So we're going to go through 4 activities. In fact, I have the PDF document here opened up. And of course, the first thing we want you to do is log in, which hopefully you've all done. Now, I'm going to try to, there we go. So we're going to go to activity 1. We're going to look at threat intel baseline with AWS GuardDuty's global intelligence. Okay. Can someone re-upload the PDF? Sure. Got it. On its way. Thank you very much, Atar. Okay. So what I'm going to do and what I want us all to do is I want you all to go here into Sumo Logic, into our training environment. And I want you to go to the library. And here in the library, you see that we have this global intelligence for AWS or Amazon GuardDuty. And if I want to, I'll zoom it in a little bit, make it a little easier for you to see. And underneath this, I have 3 dashboards. So let's take a look at the first dashboard, 0-1. Now, the 0-1 dashboard, if I close this up to give myself some more screen space, this gives me my global baseline. So this is what we see on the internet today. This is the information, the threats, the concerns, and the worries of being on the internet across the globe today. Where do we get this information? From AWS GuardDuty. So here we have a dashboard that shows me my various types of threats underneath the categories. Under the backdoor category, there's a spam bot, there's a denial of service, there's UDP on TCP ports, all kinds of different applications here that I can see. And I can see, which ones are probably the most prevalent, which ones that probably cause me the most concern. Now, good news, this is not your company. This is the global baseline. This is going on across the world. So it may look a little scary to you, but it's not that bad. Okay. If I look here at AWS as far as what they're targeting, I see globally, according to GuardDuty here, that looks like they're targeting EC2 quite a bit, 74%. And I can see that the account manager consoles are attacked about 19%. And then S3 buckets count for about 7%. So I can see the threats. I can also see the severity. A lot of these are low. Eight of them are high, and 5 of them are medium. Now, again, this is the cost of doing business on the internet today and across the world. And then down here, I can see a global threat map. So I can see where threats are coming from and to, and basically how things are going. I can see the different types of threats. So again, this is what's happening in the world at large. Now, a couple things I do want to point out to you. In these dashboards, we have filters. And so up here at the very top, if I click on this filter funnel, you'll see that I can filter on specific resources if I want to. So if all I want to do is focus on EC2, I can change this response, this value to EC2, and now it shows me data only for EC2. It's showing me the information specific to EC2. So you can, I can, we can go into any of these dashboards inside here, and we can pick a specific threat name, right? Bitcoin domain request. And again, I can see the data associated with that if I want to. Or if I want to see everything, of course, I can just clear these filters out. So this makes it very easy for you to focus in on things that you might be interested in. Now, in the second dashboard here, the O2 dashboard, this is now showing you your company's threat profile based on guard duty findings with the average of the global baseline. So here, if I open this up and I look, I can see that currently your threat level is about 100. It was fine up to a couple of days ago. And then all of a sudden you started getting some sort of threat activity. And of course, we can then look into that and maybe understand from the logs what kind of threat activity you're getting. But here I can see the global baseline down here, right? What's happening here as far as the values. And it looks like my company here is getting a bit more recon than my global baseline. So some threat is trying to do a recon on my network to see what's happening. I've got some unauthorized access going on and that sort of thing. Now, again, just to put your minds at ease, this is a training environment, and we really do want to highlight some issues. So our data tends to be a lot more dangerous and scary than hopefully your data would ever be. But again, it's trying to tell a good story here. I want to see, as far as severity here, those information that are designated as high threats. What am I seeing? So globally, there's 16% high events, but I've got 0. I've got no high threats. Globally, there's 9.63 medium events. I've got 20% medium events. I've got more medium events than normal. So you can see here how you're doing compared to the global aspect. And then, of course, it talks about the various types of threats and their purposes and where they're basically trying to go after. And you could investigate this. And this is basically your prioritized action plan, where then you can then take this and start mitigating, resolving, taking care of things. Okay. Now, the third piece of this is specifically finding your company information. So here in your company, we're not going to compare you necessarily with the baseline, but within your company, what kind of threats are you seeing? Well, like I said, we're getting a lot of recon, 80% recon. Okay, 81%. I got a couple backdoors, a couple unauthorized accesses. So again, you can visually get an idea of what's happening with your organization, keeping in mind that the data here is a little bit higher than you would want in your company, because we're trying to tell a story here. Additionally, I can see where my threat sources are coming from geography, as far as where they're coming from. So here in the UK, I can see, basically where they're coming from. I can also look at them as far as what specific threat names are coming from what points in geography. So again, you get an idea of where the attackers are trying to get you from. And of course, I can see, remember that earlier globally, we had the IAM user, we had EC2, and we had the S3. You've got no S3 issues. Also, as far as low, medium, and high on the global side, we don't have any highs. We only have medium issues and low issues here. So that's pretty good. And then I can look at your threats by the various resource. What environments, what accounts are they trying to use, your AWS accounts? What sort of security groups and stuff are they trying to go after? What sort of instances are they trying to go after? So this, again, is a very powerful application that you and I can install with your AWS Guard Duty, and you can then see how your company is doing right out of the gates. Okay. So again, I can see my threats. I can see my threats by region based on timeline. And with all of these things, like I said, if I want to turn some of these off, I can certainly do that. If I want to turn them back on, I can certainly do that as well. But you've got a pretty good idea with this application what your threats are and what is going on in your environment. And again, some action stuff that you need to take. Keeping in mind, like I said, that this data that we're looking at here is probably a little bit more exaggerated due to its training environment. So you would see, obviously, your real data. Any questions about this particular application? So that takes us to activity number 2. So in activity number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to install an app. We're going to see how an app gets installed, the kind of information and stuff it can tell me, the kind of information it can show me. So we got something in the chat box here. Okay. Mark mentions, I'm not sure the PDF is visible in the chat interface. Good point, Mark. In some of your companies, they may have disabled the ability for you to download a document through Zoom. And so nothing I can do about that other than when I get around to the code and stuff, I'm going to make sure I put it in the chat box. Okay. Anything else? All right. So in activity 2, what we want to do is we want to install an app. So as I mentioned before, in our app catalog, we have a slew of applications. In fact, if I just look at AWS applications, I've got all kinds of different applications to see what is going on here, all kinds of great stuff. If you're interested in other things, for example, when we were all locked down with the COVID-19 pandemic, we created this little work from home solution because everybody's working from home, and we created a bunch of dashboards and queries and stuff. So you could see how your users are using Zoom or how they're using Salesforce or other pretty common products in the industry. So we try to make it easy for you as a company to see what the impact is here on, from COVID and that sort of thing. Okay. Can I email the can I email the PDF? Not very easily, but like I said, when we get into the parts where you need specific information on that PDF, I will copy and paste them into the chat so you won't miss anything. Okay. And we'll figure out a way to get those PDFs to you. Now, again, what I want to do is I want to install an app. I'm going to go up here to all categories. I want you to click on all categories, and I want to search for the word. I'll tell you what, we'll search for what I think global intel, right? Global intel. Hang on a second. Sorry. Threat intel. Sorry. So I want to look for threat intel. And as I start typing in threat, I see there are 2 different applications here that I can use. We want to focus on the threat intel for AWS. Now, we have a partnership with CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike lets us take AWS information, and it tells us about the threat intel for the AWS environments. And if I click on this app, you'll see that it gives me a definition of what does this app do for me, right? And I can also preview the dashboards. So I can look at these dashboards and see what kind of information are they going to provide for me. And I can scoot through the various dashboards here to see basically what's happening. And then there's a little link here for community. So in our community, and by the way, that's support.sumologic.com URL, that you can go to the community. And that's where we and our partners and our customers all collaborate. If you want to make an enhancement to our product, there's an ideas section in there that you can put that stuff in. But we have a community, and in this community link, if we have any information about this application, additional information we want to provide to the community, we put it in the community. And then under learn more, that link would take us to our training materials where we might use this application. Now, what I want us to do is I want us to install this application. I want to add this to our library. And I want you to add this to your library as well. So when I add this to my library, it has an application name, Threat Intel for AWS. And that's a pretty good name. The only thing I'm going to add to that name, and what I want you to add to that name, is I'd like you to add your initials. Okay. A couple of you are logged in with the same accounts. I want to make sure you can find your application, your instance of this. So type in your initials. And then for me, because I've done this a time or two, I'm also going to type in today's date. Okay. Just because I've done this a time or two, you might find a couple of these threat intels in my personal folder. Okay. So I'm going to add my date. You don't have to, but I'm going to do that. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to tie this to the data, right? We got different data streams coming in. And when we created those data streams coming in, we gave them a name. We gave them a source category. And so what I need to do is I need to define the source category name for my CloudTrail log source. And I know, because I know my environment, that it's labs/AWS/CloudTrail. So I would type in labs/AWS/CloudTrail. And you notice when I do that, my little type ahead gives me all kinds of choices. And this is the one I want, the one at the bottom, labs/AWS/CloudTrail. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to grab my VPC flow log source. Now, maybe you'd have VPC flow log source. Maybe you don't. It's okay. We do. So I'm going to take advantage of it. If you didn't have it, you could still install this app. You just wouldn't have any data under VPC flow logs. I do. Again, my source category name is labs/AWS/VPC. And as you can imagine, as a current thread here, we try to discipline, we recommend as a best practice that you have some sort of a naming convention for these source categories. So you characterize them, right? My labs environment, my dev environment, my prod environment /AWS or / whatever AWS region you want, however you want to break it down. So again, I want my ELB classic log source. Again, that's labs/AWS/ELB, Elastic Load Balancer. And again, I see here is my labs/AWS/ELB. So let me just go ahead and copy these in the chat box for you in case you need them. Okay. Yep. Excellent. There's one. There's two. And there's three, just because, again, if those of you don't have the PDF, should make it fairly easy for you to copy and paste. Also, and Sumo mentioned that the threat intel for AWS is included in the service and provided at no extra cost. So this, we have a relationship with CrowdStrike. And so we can see CrowdStrike's data and provide it as part of our dashboards. So this is available to you in this product. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and click OK, add this to my dashboard. And what this is going to do is this is going to then add to my dashboard. And here in my personal folder, if I scroll down, so you want to go to your personal folder, you want to scroll down and you want to find this particular folder. I called it Threat Intel for AWS. I put my initials in here. Hopefully you have your initials in there as well. And I put today's date in here. Okay. So in here, I see I've got about 4 different dashboards and I've got 3 different queries and I've got a, that sort of thing. Now, I'm going to start with the overview dashboard. So if I click on Threat Intel for AWS, again, this information tells me about what this is doing, what this application is all about. I'm going to close up my navigation pane just to give myself some more screen real estate. I can see my scanned events over time. Again, I got 3 different data sources coming here, VPC, ELB, and CloudTrail. And again, I can filter and choose if I want to here. In my CloudTrail application here, I get a sense for how many threats I have from CloudTrail, threats I have from VPC, threats I have from ELB, and then I can see my threats over time. So here on my x-axis, I've got a time scale. Here's the number of my counts. And again, this is all fictitious data, so don't get all concerned about, will mine show, hopefully yours won't show as many threats, I hope. Here I can look at VPC. If I did not have VPC data, this panel would just be blank. Same with ELB. I can see my ELB information, or again, it could be blank if I have no ELB information. Okay, thank you, Stacy, on the PDF. So again, here I can see a threat outlier. So what happens is I see my data points as I go through here, and we calculate using our outlier function, standard deviation. And so I can see if I'm inside of my standard deviations, a high or a low. That's what the cloud is behind it. And so I can see that I should be within range mathematically, and I still am. If for some reason this line goes above or below a specific point of my cloud, then I'll see a red triangle, which indicates that I have an outlier. Okay. Also, as I mentioned before with our other dashboards, I can, you can, we can click the filter icon, and I can filter this by actor or based on some raw information here. So if there's a specific actor or something I'm looking for, a specific user, I could filter that if I want to. And it would filter all my dashboards that have that element in there. Okay. Now, besides my threat intel overview panel, I have some other panels in here. I've got my AWS CloudTrail panel that I can open up, and I can see where are my threats from CloudTrail coming from. What kind of threats am I getting from my CloudTrail logs? Again, you can sit there and see the information and stuff it's providing. And I can see my threats by IP and the type of threat that it is. So again, you're getting an idea of where these things are coming. And I can see the amount of threats I'm getting over time, which we could have seen that in the previous dashboard. My threats by actor, right? So again, I could go up here and search and filter by a specific actor here if I want to. In fact, I can take one of these lovely actors here. I don't want to grab an assigned. Let's just try this one real quick. Tell you what. Let's try it. And again, it would filter my data to show me only those unassigned. I must have typed something in wrong. But again, you should be able to swipe one of these, copy it, and paste it. Threats by event, again, different events, different types of threats. So I think you'll find that this information here can be very, very helpful and very, very handy to you, right? If you're worried about a specific region, right, US-East-1, I could filter my data for a specific region if I wanted to. I don't want to filter, I can, again, see all my regions. So these hopefully make it very easy for you and for I and for others to understand what kind of threats you could be getting and where those threats and stuff can be coming from. And of course, if you've got VPC and you've got elastic load balancing, you can review those dashboards as well. So in this exercise, in this activity, what we did was we found an application. We installed that application, tying it to the data that's coming in, and these dashboards are in fact ready to go. I'm seeing my data, I'm seeing my information. Now, all of these dashboards consist of panels, as I mentioned before. Each of these panels typically has an underlying query. So in activity 3, what we're going to do is we're going to look at those underlying queries. Okay. So we're going to create and look at an underlying query, and we're going to see basically how this stuff gets made up. So that is our next activity. So I'm going back to my PDF document here, and let me go into activity 3. Now here in activity 3, we're going to create a query that's going to be able to take an IP address, and we're going to send that information to CrowdStrike, and we want the intel on that IP address. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and copy these last two lines on this one page. I don't want to copy everything over because I'll grab this footer and I don't want that footer. But I'm going to take and swipe over these two lines of code, and I'll explain what these lines of code do. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new log search, which is what I want you to do. So again, there should be a blue new button up here. Click log search, and then you can paste this information in. And as I said, I'll get into what this information is telling us in just a minute. But in order to add another line to this query, I need to do either a shift enter, hold the shift key down and hit enter, or if you're on a Windows keyboard, alt enter. Hold the alt key down and hit enter. If you just hit enter, it's going to try to run this as a query. Okay. It's the same as clicking the start button. And I don't want to do that right now. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab the other code that's here. A swipe over it. I'm going to right click on it with it highlighted. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste this code. And I see I've got some stray characters here, number 2 and number 3. I'm going to get rid of those stray characters. Excellent. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. Actually, before I run this, let me comment out a couple of lines. When we, in our query language, if you want to comment something out, it's simply 2 forward slashes. That will comment out that line. So I'm going to comment out the last 2 lines here, okay? And I'm going to click the start button. Now, what is this doing? It's giving me the last 15 minutes worth of log data. And it's basically saying, okay, I'm going to limit myself to one number, one value, one record, one thing. And I am going to put in this IP address, 84.112.91.96, and I'm going to call it my threat. Then this third line is going to do a lookup. A lookup is a function we have to look something up. We can look at geography. We can look at threat intel based on CrowdStrike. We can look up and save things to a file if we want to. But what this lookup is doing is it's taking that IP address, that my threat, it's passing it in, calling it threat, if you will, and it's going to this URL, which basically is sending it to CrowdStrike. Then we're asking CrowdStrike to give us the type, the actor, the raw information about this, and the threat level, but we're going to call that threat level malicious confidence. And so I can see this IP address has a malicious confidence of low. And here is my raw data about that information. So here's the raw information I got back from CrowdStrike. Now, what I'm going to do here is I've simply got a simple if statement. If is null, malicious confidence. So if malicious confidence is null, I'm going to create a new field called data exist. And if malicious confidence is null, I'm going to put a no in there. Otherwise, I'm going to put a yes in there. In our case, malicious confidence is not null, so I would expect to see a yes in the field called data exist. So when I run this, it created a new field called data exist, and it set the value equal to yes. Because again, this malicious confidence value is not null. It's got a value of low in there. And then I can change the order of these fields or decide what fields I want to display. So I want to see and change the order. I want to see my threat first. Then I want to see data exist second. Then I want to see malicious confidence third. Then I want to see actor. And again, in this case, the actor is not defined. Now, one thing that might make things a little easier for you to digest here a little bit, as I said, is that we have all this stuff in our documentation. So if I were to open up a new tab, type in help.sumologic.com, and if I were to search in here for threat indicators, search our documentation for threat indicators, you'll see that we've got this thing that returns back and says threat intel frequently asked questions. So this is the frequently asked questions about our CrowdStrike database that we use to find this information out. So this is all the information about this command, the kind of information we get out of CrowdStrike, By the way, we passed in an IP address. I could have passed in a domain, an email address, all kinds of stuff here. And again, what kind of information do I get back? We talk there about actors. Well, we've got nation state actors, we've got non-nation state actors. So here are the values, the malicious confidence and all that fun stuff. So this is all in our product documentation. So you can see basically the kind of information that we provide. And of course, you could look this up in far more detail if you wanted to. Okay. All right. So that is our third activity. Now, one thing I want to do with this third activity is, this is nice, putting in a specific IP address. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to change this IP address. Now, when I swipe over it, you get this little option that says, I want to create a parameter. And I can create a parameter. And now when I do that, it says, what is this parameter called? Well, I'll call it IP_addr. I don't know, whatever you want, address or suspicious IP address or whatever. Here's its default value. And I'm going to save this. But now down here, I have this block called parameters. And if I want to, I can change this to another IP address. Let's make it .23. Now, .23 doesn't have any malicious confidence. So data does not exist. No. And so I can change the different IP addresses here to whatever I want, right? 135.16.21.57. I don't know. I'm just guessing here at an IP address. Again, nothing found. But the point is that you and I and others can let our users, we could save this query. We could even hide the query part of it. Let them change this and see what kind of information they're getting back about this IP address. Okay. So that's really kind of helpful. That's really kind of handy. Now, one thing I do want to do is I want to go back to its default value, which if you'll bear with me just a second. There we go. What I want to do is I want to take this another step farther, if you don't mind. So let me open up the query. If I click on this, it opens up my query, or actually, excuse me, I'll do it this way. There we go. That's the query that I want. And what I want to do is I want to look at this query and I want to do a geographical lookup. Where is this query? Where is this IP address coming from? So here in the exercise under activity 3, step 2, I'm sorry. So I'm getting ahead of myself. That's actually in the next lab, the next activity. So sorry about that. Disregard that. But there is a way for us to do a lookup and see where that IP address is coming from, a geographical lookup. And that's going to be in activity 4, excuse me. So any questions about activity 3 here real quick? Okay. Tito asks, can we use an IP address or a subnet as a parameter? There are ways to do that. To answer your question, sure. Lots of different ways we could do that. The problem is that you're going to want to be able to look at all the different IP addresses within that range, right? An IP address is what you're checking with CrowdStrike to see if they know about it or not. Okay. And yeah, the parameter page may move. Is there a way to move that? If you're depending on your screen resolution and basically how big or small you can make this stuff, there is a little bit of manipulation, but probably not as much as you'd like. Ultimately, what we'd like to do with this is to take this and put this out to a dashboard and let our users use it, interact with it through a dashboard. And then you can position it wherever you want to. So hopefully, I hope that answers your question. Good question. Thanks for asking. All right, let's move on to activity number 4. By the way, before I do that, let me take this code that's in here and let me copy it. And let me put it in the chat box for those of you who weren't able to get the PDF. So there's that code. You can take that and run with that. The next thing, like I said, I want to do is do activity 4 here. And then we're going to take a 15-minute break. So here in activity 4, we're going to take some code. I'm going to highlight that code here in step 1. And I'm going to grab myself a new log search. And I'm going to paste that code in. Now, what's this code doing for us? It's going out and grabbing our CloudTrail logs. And it's looking specifically for any logs that deal with console login. So any API logins I won't see. I'm filtering only for console logins. Then these statements right here are extracting certain fields, okay? And specifically, we're looking where the console login was equal to success, not failure. I want to see where people have logged in, okay? And then I'm going to, you don't mind, comment out a bunch of these lines. Now I could comment them out one at a time, but what I can do is I can put my cursor up here. And if you're on a Windows keyboard, if you hold down the Alt key, your cursor will change to a plus. If you're on a Mac keyboard, if you hold down the Option key, your cursor will change to a plus. Then if you drag a line down here, whatever you type, which in my case is 2 forward slashes, will comment out those lines. So you can, I can, we can comment out a bunch of lines. Now, we code a little bit, we test a little bit. So we're going to run what we have here. And so here I have extracted out some additional element information, my access resource name, my console login of success, my event name, console login, my event source, my event type, was multi-factor authentication used? In this case, no, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all these fields we have extracted out. Now, what I want to do is I simply want to count by the account resource name and the IP address. So that's going to create for me an aggregates tab. Anytime I do a count or a sum or a min or a max, it's going to create an aggregates tab. And here I can see that this account resource name of B. Smith logged in from this IP address and that IP address and this IP address and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I want to do is I want to sort this by my account resource names. Then I want to create a new field called row num, and I'm going to set the value in row num equal to 1. So I'm basically putting in a value here. And then I want to calculate the total of row num by account resource name. Now, B. Smith is the only account resource name we have in here. If we had more than one, then we'd see multiple account resource names. But it looks like B. Smith over the last 15 minutes has logged in 50 times. And if I have any account resource names where they have only logged in once, I want to remove them. Okay. And then I only want to see, or I want to get rid of this count and row num. So all I see is the account resource name, the source IP, and the total number of times that they have logged in. So what this query has told me that user B. Smith has logged in a total of 54 times from these various IP addresses over the last 15 minutes. And unless B. Smith is part of my penetration team or something like that, B. Smith, if he's a typical or she is a typical user, then they should be logging in from hopefully 1, maybe 2 IP addresses, right? So more than likely 1 IP address. So this is something I want to, talk to B. Smith about and understand and follow up. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take this code right now and I'm going to copy it and put it in the chat box. So for anybody who needs it, it's there. And we're going to enhance this code. So I mentioned we have a lookup command that we can use to get information from CrowdStrike. We have a lookup command that we also use with a partner of ours called Newstar. And this partner, I'm going to take this code and I'm going to paste it in here at the end. This partner of ours lets us take the IP address, the source IP. We're going to pass that in as IP. And we're going to send it to this URL, which is Newstar. And they're going to give us the latitude and the longitude. Then I'm going to count by that latitude and longitude. So when Bruce Smith logged in, remember he logged in from about 56 IP addresses. Well, here is the latitude and longitude of those IP addresses. And since I have a latitude, a longitude, and a count, I can click on this little icon right here, which converts this into a map. And here I can see all the different locations that B. Smith has logged in from. So let me add this whole query here to this chat box. Okay. Somebody's saying this map is mighty sweet. It is. Again, one picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, you may ask yourself, why am I seeing so many continents here? There's many duplications of the Earth. It's because of the X and the Y axes here. Okay. If I'd actually made this a little taller, then it would now have a normal Eastern Hemisphere, Western Hemisphere continent type display. It wouldn't show the duplications. If I send this to a dashboard, I will get the normal look of the Earth, not with multiple instances and contents. So good. Okay. Parallel words, somebody points out. Very good. All right. Excellent. So hopefully you've seen just a little bit in the short period of time we've been together, how powerful it is to be able to run analytics on your various data, your security data. And we, with very little work here, have created 4 activities that out of the box you can use and you can run with. Okay. The other thing too, keep in mind that these dashboards and these panels all typically consist of queries. We've already created these queries and made them part of the panels, but you can also create these queries and customize these queries to meet your needs and to focus on things that are important to you. So what questions do you have about this before we consider taking a break? Questions? All right. Let me just put a little comment in here and then we'll take a 15-minute break. So you've seen that we can build searches. We have searching capability. We can do deep search, foundational correlation, all kinds of neat stuff. We've got those lovely dashboards. One picture is worth 1,000 words, including that sweet map box plot that you can see, and we can create bar charts and area charts and all that good stuff. And this allows you to give you information at a reasonably high level. So now you can troubleshoot, you can investigate, you can detect, you can respond. So hopefully that makes your jobs that much easier. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to a 15-minute break. Okay, so realize it's a little hard to call it a lunch break, but we're going to take a 15-minute break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cloud SIEM Advanced powered by AWS. So what questions have you? They bring up a 15-minute timer. When this timer gets down to 0, I'd like you back here. So let's take a break, stretch our legs, get ourselves something cold or hot to drink, whatever's working for you. And we'll see you in about 14 minutes and 49 seconds. I'm going to step away as well. So have a good break.
Thanks, John. And I'm going to post the survey link in the chat window. If you could take a couple minutes to fill that out, will really help us. Thank you. Enjoy the break.
Hey folks, this is John. Somebody asked a question. I think I missed this. How do I get lunch? I believe the folks from AWS are going to send you some gift cards for that. And so that's how you're going to get lunch for this. But we didn't get a chance to send them out in advance. So, Richard, hopefully that answers your question. And again, we'll start up here in about almost a little less than 3 minutes. See you soon. Any questions? Feel free to let us know. Thank you. Okay, folks, the timer tells me we should all be back and ready to go. So let me go ahead and close up the timer and put that away. Now, when we last left, right, we had talked about the Cloud SIEM. And I think that you would agree with me, you know, we briefly touched on audit and compliance. That's basically part of the Cloud SIEM anyway. And we talked about Cloud SIEM and SIEM, most of you are really getting into this. This is pretty cool. You know, write these queries, see these dashboards, visually see what's going on. Very powerful tool. Well, now we're going to take it up a notch and we're going to talk about Cloud SIEM Advanced. And this allows you to see the various threats, and we're going to correlate those threats. And we also have got built in here an event management system. So you can assign this to people, you can take action on this to people, you can close these incidents and all that sort of thing. Let's face it, with the amount of threats that can come into a company, a particularly large company, you could find yourself with your security operations center, bogged down by just the sheer volume of things. You're going to find that this product is going to synthesize all those records and data coming in and provide you a fairly manageable number of insights that you and your team can investigate. And so we're going to talk about that interface in just a little bit. But this is going to be the focus for this next half-hour session, okay? So the Cloud SIEM Enterprise Advanced Solution, powered by AWS, is again born and built in the cloud. runs on AWS. It is focused on security events, right? It looks at your logs, your operating system logs, your firewall logs, all the different logs that comes in, and it correlates things. It correlates them by entities. Your entity could be your host name, could be your IP address, could be your username, could be whatever. It is designed to reduce false positives and false alerts. And the underlying rules and structure and logic of it are brought to you by the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So we use the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and we maintain that MITRE ATT&CK framework for you. So as this information gets updated, you'll find behind the scenes, we will update your various rules, and we're really good about turnaround time on that, okay? So we basically want to turn all this lot of records and stuff into simple, actionable insights that you can, I can, we can manage. And you'll find that probably the key to this is kind of a heads up display that you can see to see what's going on. In fact, this product was actually built by the same user UI folks that dealt with World of Warcraft. So you might see something that looks vaguely familiar, right? Because we want to reduce the fatigue. Your SOC center folks can typically have a bit of fatigue here. So we tried a 45-day evaluation with a customer of ours, right? And in that 45 days, they received about 10 billion records, right? 10 billion entries and stuff like that. In that, those records got correlated in this product to 9.8 million signals. And I'll explain what a signal is in just a little bit. But again, through our correlation and stuff like that, we turn this into 175 insights. And you'll find as insight is basically signals grouped together that kind of tell a story. Now, most products, most SIEM products only go as far as the signals. They don't go down and help create the insights. But ours do, based on, again, MITRE ATT&CK framework, based on any rules that you customly put in there, based on the logics and stuff that you see fit. Now, in this 45-day evaluation, out of that 175 insight, they investigated those 175 insights, and they discovered that 95, there was no action required. Okay, maybe the action required is to adjust the rules so they don't get those anymore. 15 of those 175 were false positives. They really weren't indicative of a situation, but based on the framework and based on the rules, they saw that false positive. So they wound up with 65 incidences in a 45-day period. That's about 1.5 per day that they had to investigate and see and understand. So throughout this 45-day evaluation, they're able to see what's going on and be able to take action. And my question for you, or my question for you to ponder is, and you'll see in just a minute how quickly this works, is how long would this take with your current tools and your current processes? Okay. So you're going to see firsthand how this works. Now, before I get into it, I do want to explain a little bit of things to you. By the way, you will see this diagram in the form of a test question later on in just a little bit. So what happens is your customer data comes in, and it comes in through the Cloud SIEM collection process. Those collectors I pointed out earlier, we take that information and we ingest that information. We ingest various messages. Those messages could come from CloudTrail, GuardDuty, all kinds of other sources. We take those messages and we parse them out. We pull out the IP address, pull out the host name, pull out various other fields. We map those fields to standard field mapping names, again, based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Then we're going to enrich this information. We're going to take the IP address maybe and look up what domain it's in. Take the email address and look up some information about that email domain, things like that. We'll enrich those, and those we call records. We then take those records and we're going to apply the MITRE ATT&CK framework rules to see if these are bad things that are happening. They could be good things. It could be bad things. We don't know. And you can also customize your own rules here as well. And then we're also going to apply them to entities. Now, as I said before, and actually I apologize, forgot this an animated slide. So there's slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. So here we have our rules, right? We apply the MITRE ATT&CK framework rules, and you can write your own custom rules as well. And then we look at the entities, and entities are things like your IP address, your host name, your username, things that we can group these together. And that creates our signals. So a signal is something that's wrong, some issue, something we want to call your attention to. But then we cluster and correlate those signals based on entities, and we take the value weight of each of those signals, and if it exceeds a certain number, we flag it as an insight, and therefore we take these billions upon records and we convert them to a small number of insights that you and I and others can then take action on. And so this is basically how the process works. Now, what I'd like you to do is, if you're still logged into Sumo Logic, I'd like you to log out. Now, how do you log out? It's real simple. I want you to go into the navigation pane again, click on that little house of hamburger menu or stack of pancakes, and don't ask me why things relate to food for me. It's probably not a healthy conversation. But down here in the lower corner, it should give you the ability to click on your Training Plus Analyst account. And when you do that, now you have an option to sign out. And I'd like you all to sign out of our training environment. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to sign back in with these credentials. Now, truth be told, we could obviously have you use the same accounts and that sort of thing. Okay. So we also integrate with single sign-on systems, multi-factor authentication systems. So you could, in your Sumo Logic environment or your Cloud SIEM environment powered by AWS, you could log in using your single sign-on mechanisms and that sort of thing. And obviously you could use one account to access both of these. But when we, in our training environment, we try to separate, this is our analytics side, this is our SIM side, and therefore we try to break it up. So that's why I'm asking you to log in with different credentials. This time you are going to log in. Again, you're going to go to service.sumologic.com, or you're going to log in here with Training Plus Insight at sumologic.com. And the password is a capital SUMO, capital L, numeral 0, number 0, GIC, exclamation mark. So what I want you to do is I also want you to log in with those, sign in, and it should in fact let you right in. And then to get us into the Cloud SIEM environment, we're going to go open up our navigation pane again. And down here in our main menu, you'll see there's something here called the Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And if you click on that, that opens things up for us. Except I am going to shrink my screen down here a little bit so I can see things a little bit better for you. Now, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you all to log in, given those credentials that I gave you. And again, I'm going to run my little poll to make sure you're all logged in. So please log in. And if you're having problems, let us know. All right. I've got one person that asked me to repeat the instructions. No problem. A couple of folks have asked me to repeat the instructions. That's fine. I think that's great. I'm going to stop my poll for a second. What I want you to do is I want you to, if you're logged into the Sumo Logic environment earlier, I want you to go down here to the lower left. I'm sorry, excuse me. I want you to open up the navigation panel. So I want you to open up the navigation panel. And I want you down here, you should see Training Plus Analyst with that number. Click on it. And there's an option down here in the lower left-hand corner to sign out. And I want you all to sign out of the Sumo Logic environment with that Training Plus Analyst account. Then I want you to log in as Training Plus Insight at sumologic.com with this password. And again, let me make this hopefully a little easier for you to see. Let me zoom this in a little bit. So hopefully for those of us in the over 50 category, we can see that now. Okay. And I want you to log back in. So, okay, no problem, Paul. I understand. I'm glad it's been helpful to you. Again, by the way, we're recording this, so you guys should be able to play it back. Anyway, so we're going to log in with these credentials, and when you click sign in, it's going to log you back into Sumo Logic, back into the system here. And then over here on the navigation pane, if you open it up, you'll see there's a Cloud SIEM Enterprise, and I want you to click on that. And that will take you to where we want to go, okay? And you all log in with the same account. Now, again, let me make a cleansing comment here. You guys can use in your environments, you can use single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, whatever you want. You can do that. The products support that. And obviously you could have a user who has the rights to be able to do the analytics as well as get into this portion of it. So you can decide, how you want to manage your users, whether they're administrators, whether they're analysts, whatever their role is on either one of these two products. Okay. So lots can be done. We in training like to break it so that the analytics is usually one account, and then the SIEM environment here uses another. We like to break it off. That's why we do it this way. Okay. So let me run my poll again here, make sure we're all in that want to be in. And one more time, if you'd bear with me one more time here and answer my poll, I would appreciate it. And hopefully we're all in here. We're all chomping at the bit to play, because this looks pretty cool. And it is cool. And it's really, 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 really powerful. But don't let me convince you. All right, I've got 24 folks who've signed in out of 115. I'm going to give it about another 15 seconds or so. We don't want to leave anybody behind. Okay, somebody asked me again to repeat the instructions one more time, but this time will be it. So for those of you who are not into that display, again, what I want you to do is I want you to log out of our Sumo Logic training environment, okay? And how you log out of it is you open up the navigation pane. So you're going to click on this Sumo Logic or hamburger menu or whatever. You're going to go down here to that user account. You're going to click sign out, and that signs you out. Or you can just flat out close the browser. I don't care. Then you want to open up a new browser and type in service.sumologic.com. That's service.sumologic.com. And then you're going to log in as training plus insight at sumologic.com. And the password is capital SUMO, capital L, the number 0, GIC, exclamation mark. And this password changed. Okay. Okay, somebody lied, did not get in. Okay, no problem. Hopefully you're getting in now, Cynthia. So again, it should be training plus insight at sumologic.com, and then this crazy password. So hopefully you're all able to log in and life is good. If you're having problems logging in, please let me know. We want to leave nobody behind. All right. By the way, I'm going to log in with my account again. Don't mind that. Don't mind my password. And again, once you log in here, I'm going to close all these up. Now, I can close all these up one at a time, which is really kind of painful. Or you'll find that any one of these tabs, I have these 3 vertical dots, the more action button. I can click on that more action button, and there's an option to close all tabs. So I'm going to close all those tabs. And then down here in my main menu, there's something called Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And I'm going to click on Cloud SIEM Enterprise, and that's going to take me into my heads up display. That's going to take me right to here to where I want to be. And I am going to adjust my screen a little bit so that I can see things a little clearer, and hopefully you can as well. So I'm going to assume that we're all in here. I'm going to assume, I'm not going to run the poll again. I'm going to assume that we're all good to go and ready to move forward. Okay. Give it about 10 seconds in case anybody wants to tell me they're having problems. All right then. So what am I seeing here in this heads up display? Well, first of all, there's a little Sumo Logic icon up there, and that will take me back to this display, this home page, if you will. I'm seeing that my system is online, and I see I'm looking back the last 24 hours. And of course, I can change this time range if I want to, but typically 24 hours is the default. In the last 24 hours, we have processed 794,000 records. We have turned that 798,000 records into 281 signals, and those 281 signals have been correlated to 10 insights. So in the last 24 hours, we've received 10 insights. Now, if I compare this 24 hours against the previous 24 hours, this went up 100%, this went up by 1,000, this went up 100%. In here, I've got some insight metrics. I can see that 5 are in the detection phase, 2 are in the response phase, 3-minute remediation phase. So I'm getting an idea of how long it's taken me to deal with some of these things, okay? And we'll talk about those metrics and stuff a little later. Again, I have got 10 insights. Out of that 10 insights, 8 of them are new. One of them has been marked in progress and has been assigned to John Meredith, that lucky devil. One has been resolved and closed by John Meredith, that lucky devil. And then none are in the other category. Your other category can be used for things like maybe I want to send it to my SOC threat team, or I want to send it to my special forces team or whatever. You can have an other category for that. Then down here, I can see a timeline. If I scroll to the bottom, I can see a timeline here of when my insights came in and when my insights are being closed. So just give me a little timeline here of when things happened and all that sort of thing. Now in here, I have my heads up display, and I have basically a clock that starts here and it goes back this way. So right now it's the 13th, about 1:30, actually it's about 2 o'clock, and this clock goes back to this way. So this shows me my day. And on the outside here in my blue area, I have my various records. So how many records did it process? From those records, we created signals. And what signals did we create over those 24 hours? And then for my signals, I have these various insights. Now my insights can be color coded, right? Red means it's an active new insight. This tan or brown here, it means it's in progress. It's been assigned to somebody, they're investigating, they're looking at it, that sort of thing. But here in this heads up display, I can very easily see an insight, and I could select one here if I wanted to. I'm going to show you a better way to do this. Over here on the right is my insight activity. This shows me my latest insight. This is insight number 9, right? My latest insight, and we'll look at it. Shows me a timeline of how long things took, how long this insight has been going on as far as the duration. Gives me the overall score of this insight, has 5 signals, and it's considered to be high. So we'll talk a little bit more about this interface in just a second. And then down here in the corner, this shows me who's been basically doing what with insights. So here I kind of have a system log that shows me that John Meredith took a assigned this and was updated, and John Meredith did this, and somebody did this, and so forth and so on. So I can see who's doing what to my system. And of course, you'll see this automatically refreshes based on new insights, logs, whatever. So that's my overall big screen. Now, from here, I can click on insights and I can see all my insights, and I may see them this way. I may see them that way. We'll get into that in just a second. I can also click on see my signals if I wanted to. I can see my entities if I want to. I can see my records if I want to. That's kind of, again, you probably want to filter that, all that. So what I want to do is, and if I want to go back to the home page, I simply click over here where it says Sumo in the upper left-hand corner. Now, I could click on the latest insight and investigate it, or I could go over here and click on this insight, investigate it. But I want to see what insights I have. So if I go up here to insights, I can see either a laundry list here of insights, or if I click on this icon over here to the upper right-hand corner, I can now see them in their status category. So these are my new ones. This is in progress. By the way, by default, we filter, so we don't see anything that's closed. We figure if it's closed, it's closed. You don't care about it. But I'm going to remove that filter, and you can see there is the one that I closed earlier today. Okay. And if I want to, of course, I can filter on a wide variety of things here. Maybe I want to see the stuff that's assigned to a particular assignee, or I want to see a certain status, or I want to see a certain severity level, greater than, less than. So you can filter this if you want to. Okay. All right. Oops. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to investigate together an insight. And I'm going to walk you through an insight, and we'll see the story it's telling us and investigate this and have a great time with this. Then at the end of this, what's going to happen is you're going to investigate an insight. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. I'm going to give you an insight. You're going to go ahead and investigate it. You're going to see what's coming on, what the issue is. You're going to draw your own conclusions, and we're going to talk about those conclusions at the end of about a 10-minute window when you get some time to play with it. So what I want to do is I'm going to go down here to this discovery and credential access and execution. I'd like you to click on this one as well. Insight number 9, discovery with credential access and execution. So I open it up. I am now looking at this insight. So over here on the left, I see my insight. you'll see that I can apply certain actions to this. And by the way, those actions can be customized. So you can add your own additional actions and other things in here. I could, of course, close this insight, or I could just flat out delete it. I don't want anybody to do anything with it right now because we're going to play with this insight and I don't need it to go away. As far as its status, I can mark it and change its status if I want to, mark it in progress, mark it closed, whatever. Again, I'm going to leave it alone and I can assign it to somebody. I can assign it to me. I can assign it to my various team. I could assign it, maybe take actions. Maybe this is a real serious threat and I need to assign it to my SWAT team or whatever, my big special forces team. I'm part of my SOC. But now down here, it talks about the entity IP address. Remember that an insight is nothing more than a group of signals grouped together by an entity. That entity could be an IP address, could be a host name, could be a lot of different things. The severity of this is marked high, and I'll talk about the severity in just a second. Okay. Down here, I have 4 unique signals, 5 total, and it's last seen 6 hours ago. So this has been quiet for the last 6 hours. Its dwell time is 8 days. So from the very first event to the very last event, it's been 8 days. Okay. And then I can see some tags. These tags are associated with the MITRE framework. So that's what caused some of this to happen, some rules based on the MITRE attack framework. And so it's basically flagging and trying to show me, hey, these are some things we think we need to worry about. My various tactics, my various techniques. And of course, I can add a comment in here as I go through and play with this. Now, over on the right side, I see a timeline. So here's my timeline. This is my oldest signal, my first signal, then my next signal, and my next signal, and so forth and so on. So I can put my cursor over this signal and it tells me what that message is, or again, what this message is. If I scroll down, I will see these signals in order. These signals are the individual log messages that have gone through the MITRE attack framework that have indicated we got problems, and they're individually scored. So this one has a 3. Basically, it says we did a SAMR and enumeration of all users. And if I click on this and open up that signal, I can see that Microsoft has provided a protocol called SAMR, which stands for Security Account Manager Remote Protocol. And it's basically designed to let me know if that RPC connection is being used. And it is. Somebody tried to enumerate all of my users, right? Try to get a listing of all of my users. That's what this is telling me. Again, same severity. When did this event occur? The entity IP address. Again, the tags and techniques associated with the MITRE attack framework. And then down here, I can see the source destination. So this is my source .106 destination. I'm going to assume 102 is a server. They're probably going to run this enumeration on a server. And then again, I can see the types of pipes and environments and protocols and ports that it used. And again, I can see basically how this stuff got discovered and the fields that it's telling me some information here. By the way, speaking of information, typically on most of these fields, I can click. You might see a little icon down here, kind of looks like a bunch of little squares. And if I click on that, you'll see I've got a pick list. And on this pick list, I can then search in this environment for that particular field name, or I can add it to a match list or whatever. Over here, if I come across an IP address, right there, there's a little pull down. I can click on that. I can do a various who is or reverse DNS lookup or all kinds of different things to look about that IP address. Okay. So again, some pretty good information here. So I'm starting to see this particular signal was caused by somebody from .106 is trying to enumerate all my users. Okay. And if I want to, I can click back here and go back to all my signals. And then I can go to my next signal. And I see that approximately 7 days later at 2:07, somebody tried to do an Active Directory password spray attack. Again, from this same IP address. That's how they're grouped together. This password spray attack has a severity of 3. And again, that can be customized if you want. But the point is somebody's trying to log in, and I can see where they're trying to log in, what application they're trying to, what user credentials they're trying to log in at, what IP address they're trying to log in at, what they're trying to do. So I got a password spray attack. Okay. By the way, this first signal had a score of 3. The second signal had a score of 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. The third signal had a score of 3. There's 9. Then I have a score of 2, which is 11. And then I've got a score of 8. I'll get to that 8 in a second, but short of it is that's 19. The way this system is set up is if I correlated signals all add up and greater than 12 within a 2-week period, I'm going to fire that off as an insight. Now, again, that can be customized and tweaked, but if I get a series of correlated signals that add up and greater than 12 over a 2-week period, I'm going to flash it to you as an insight. It's an insight, something you need to look into. Okay. So back to this. Again, I did my SAML enumeration of users, my password spread attack. The following day, about 12 hours later, it does another password spread attack. Then I get a Palo Alto threat event, a user password brute force attempt. So trying to use a particular user account, we're trying to break into that user's account. And again, I can see all the specific details here. And get a sense for basically what's happened. Hang on a second, I see a question here. Okay, there you go. Super. All right. So as you guys can see, lots of good information here from our various logs, lots of good insights. I want to go back to, bear with me a second, I want to go back to this. And again, the last thing we notice is that in my Cisco environment here, I'm seeing that there's a file, a hash file that I know is bad, that I found a file that I shouldn't see. So again, 192.168.38.106 is trying to pass a file through my firewall. And that's a bad file. We know that file to be a bad thing. We know it's got an antivirus service.exe, and therefore we know the file hash, and we identified it by its file hash. And so the user who was doing this was Rico Dynamite. And so we now know all the various activities here. So what would we do? Well, I suspect we're going to go out and find that machine, find the user who's been using that machine. We want to run some antivirus malware scans on it. We want to take that machine offline, certainly off the internet until we get it all cleaned up. We want to talk to the users of that machine, see what's going on. Again, did they open up that email just like we told them not to? You know, how did they get themselves into this situation? You know, maybe look at their browser cache, browser history, that sort of thing. So as I hopefully alluded to here, these signals tell us a story. And again, here's the timeline of that story. And I can click on the signals that way if I want to. But now I've got a pretty good story. I know what's happened. And so I want to take corrective action. Now, is it the SOC team that takes corrective action? Do they send it off to the Network Operations Center? Do they send it to IT support? Again, they could go into actions here and they can assign it to whomever. Maybe they want to generate a JIRA ticket, right? Maybe they notify somebody via PagerDuty. And again, these can be customized. But they'll typically, once we've identified the problem, we typically will then take an action, and then we'll also apply a status here. So let me go back to my slides for just a minute. So in this guided investigation, we are looking here at this discovery with credential access and execution. It's insight number 9, I believe. And again, we showed you how you can look around and see the information that's there, right? And we can look, for example, the dwell time, look at the signals, the duration, all that fun stuff to see the kind of stuff it's telling us. If we add up the individual signals that make this up, and if it's greater than 12 within a 2-week period, that's what generated our insight. That's what made us aware of this. And again, you can adjust that as you see fit, adjust those values. This says user received a phishing email. No, different example. Okay. Don't worry about that. So the point though, is that we're going to take action. We're going to talk to that user, or those users on that machine. We're going to clean that machine, you know, and I maybe do some other general awareness within our company. And bottom line is that when you're all done taking the action that you want, we'll indicate what actions we have taken and who's going to take care of things. So we typically go in here to the actions and we specify what we want to do, email the SOC team, email the network operations team, whatever. And then we also update the status, put some comments in there about what we discovered, what we want to do, what actions we need to take, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a whole event management system. Now, typically the day of a life of a SOC analyst, as we see it, is they look at this heads-up display. They pick an insight. Now, it could be the latest insight, could be an insight just came in, could be whatever, but once they get that insight, they examine the signal. They look at what the signals are telling me. What is the story that's going on here? From that story, they're going to make a conclusion based on those signals. You know, the first signal was something, the second signal was something, the third signal something. What do they conclude from this? So basically, they're trying to tell a story here of what's happened based on the signals. And then what action do they want to take? What actions do you do based on your company policies, based on your SOC policies, based on whatever? And then finally, you'll update the status. This is typically the process that happens for a SOC analyst within this product. And we repeat. So after we close that one down, we go grab ourselves another one, we investigate it, we do what we need to do. But my question for you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Within your company, how long would it take you to do this yourselves? Because here you can see how long it took me to look at that insight, look at those signals, figure out what actions and stuff I want to take. That was really handy. That was really, really easy. And if this way is much easier than your way and much faster than your way, then you may want to consider it. Okay. Because time is money and safety is money. So just something to consider. So now what I want to do is I want to give you all an independent investigation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to point you to an insight and we'll briefly discuss that insight. Then I'm going to put a poll up. And what I'd like you to do is answer the questions of the poll. Tell me what's happened. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. And then we'll review it together as a group and see basically what's going on. So that's what this is all about. And then after that, I'll talk to you a little about rules and rule tuning. And then we'll start wrapping things up and we'll get ready to take an exam. So that is our game plan. For this next insight, what I'd like you to do, let's go back here to our insights. And the insight I'd like you to find here is good old insight number 7. Insight number 7, unspecified malicious activity. The entity is Napoleon.dynamite at windomain.local. That's who the entity is. And when I open this up, I can see it has a couple of signals. Signal there, signal there, signal there, signal there. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to spend the next 10 minutes or so, and I'll go with 10 minutes. And I'd like you to investigate this, and I'd like you to answer this poll. This poll has multiple questions. So the first one is, and this is multiple choice, what signals are you seeing? The second one says, by looking at the signals, what conclusion can you come to? And then the third one is, based on the workflow we talked about, once you've made your conclusion, what's your next step? And I see somebody in here has grabbed a hold of and started answering these, and that's fine. I will say that on the first choice, the first question, there is more than one correct answer. That's why you can answer more than one answer. So that being said, like I said, I'm going to give you all about 5 minutes or 10 minutes to look at this, and I will touch base with you at that time. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. But like I said, I'm going to be quiet and let you guys work for about 10 minutes. Thank you. Hey, folks, this is John. Just want to let you know I got about 2 minutes left here, and then we'll close this up, wrap it up, and go from there. Thanks. Hey, folks. Okay, time's about up. So let's talk about this. When I look at this insight, right, I mentioned multiple choice, multiple answers here, and that's true. And most of you got it, by the way. I don't know, who got what right, wrong, whatever. That's fine. But you'll find that the user did attempt to log in from 2 countries in an hour. That's impossible travel activity. So again, if I kind of move this out of my way, and if I look here at my details, I got impossible travel activity. Again, I've got a attempt to log in for 2 countries the same hour, and then a threat URL match. So got that. I don't recall seeing the threat intel on the device IP match threat intel file hash. I don't think we had a file hash here anywhere. Did have a URL, but not a file hash. And then no CrowdStrike information was here as well. So the first 3 should be checked. The others are fine. And then the second thing is, the second question was, again, we've got a phishing incident from Office 365. Actually, hang on a second. I believe this is not a phishing incident. I believe this was a brute force attack on Office 365. We may have to tweak up our example here a little bit. This may be on us, okay? And number 3, I asked the question of, once the workflow, once you've reached a conclusion, what's the next step? Almost all of you said take an action. So outstanding, that is correct. And so thank you all very much for that. Now, 2 things I want to leave you with here, and then I'll wrap it up, and then we'll get you ready to take an exam. But point number 1, how long in your environment with your systems and your processes would this have taken for you? Okay. I assume this would be much quicker here, because you can see how things are correlated, put together, and all that sort of thing. One other thing I wanted to mention to you, or reemphasize, is that the data coming into the Sumo Logic environment, or the Cloud SIEM by AWS, that data coming in is the same data that we're using here. So there's no additional thing that you need to do as far as setting things up. Once you set up the Cloud SIEM stream, data stream coming in, it can go here. It can go to the analytics portion that I showed you before the break. We can see it throughout the entire organization. And one other thing we can do, because we wrote this, we know the metadata, we can take information out of this Cloud SIEM Advanced product, and we can write dashboards and create dashboards in the Cloud SIEM product, so people can see, hey, what has my SOC team been doing? What issues they've been resolving? How long has it been taking? All those sort of neat things. So you guys can close the loop, and of course, keep a history of what sort of things you've been detecting. So, history does not repeat itself, but often there are similarities. Okay. So take that for what it's worth. All right. Somebody asked, when does lunch come? Thank you. Lunch, hopefully, lunch itself has not necessarily come. I don't know what time zone most of you all are on, but for me, it'll be dinner soon. Now, as I said, what we should have discovered here is, again, I'm just going to pass this by. Again, the user successfully logged in from 2 countries, malicious URL click was met. Those are some of the issues we saw. Apparently I didn't write that up right. And then we have a phishing incident that led to an account compromise. That's what happened. And then of course you all chose to take an action. So again, we had a security compliance alert, possible travel for Napoleon. 10 hours later, Napoleon clicks on malicious URL. That was the security compliance alert was associated with Napoleon, then kicked as they 20 minutes later, Napoleon adjusts an endpoint security product severity. And then 3 hours later, Napoleon logged on from 2 different countries in an hour. So conclusion, poor Napoleon's account is compromised. We need to clean up Napoleon's machine and take care of that. And again, when you think about this, this kind of information, like I said, how long would it take you all to do this? So you can see that this tool is going to allow us to simplify our alerts. One of the problems we have in most SOC teams is they get too many records, too many alerts, too many things. They get fatigue. We're going to correlate those, make it easy for you to turn those into actionable items. Therefore, we can enrich the user, the device, and the network so we can focus on what's really important. And we can also automate these. We can add rules and actions. In fact, I'm going to talk about rules in just a second. Talk about that. And then, like I said, we'll wrap this up. So let's chat a little bit about rules. Here in this tool, under content, we have rules and we have rule tuning. Rule tuning allows me to take a rule that's in the system and I get to create exceptions if I need to. Okay. So I can, if I need to, create a rule tuning expression that I apply to rules. So what I can do is I can say, I want to select specific rules and I can type in the specific rules that I want, right? Maybe I want things to deal with AWS. Maybe I want things to deal with firewalls. I can start typing in whatever it is I want. I can just flat out get rid of all the spaces and I see a long laundry list of all the different rules that we have, okay? So I can pick my criteria here. Maybe I'm worried about them, like I said, dealing with firewall type stuff. And obviously, if somebody's trying to mess with my firewall, I want an alert. I want to be told. I want an issue. But maybe my firewall administrator should be exempt from that. So you can, we can create a rule that says, and by the way, if there's any problem with these rules, it gives you a little warning down here of what's missing, what things are missing. But the point is that you can, we can create a rule that says, if my firewall admin by name is doing this, ignore it. Don't fire off this, don't create that signal. So we can create exceptions to the rule. That's what rule tuning does, okay? Rules themselves are a bit more involved. We have a bunch of different rules that we maintain, okay? We provide all of the MITRE ATT&CK framework rules, and as those get updated, we send them on to you, okay? If there is an emergent risk that suddenly shows up, that malware attack we had a few days ago, whatever, we will immediately package it up, make sure it's on your system. But you can write your own rules if you want to. And the rules come in 4 different flavors. There is a match rule, right? When a record matches a simple condition, right? So for example, the record domain is some threat domain that we know of. I can specify it based on a threshold, right? So when some event happens, they trigger something, and within 15 seconds, they trigger something else later. They try to do different things. I can mark that as a threshold rule. A chain rule is when, again, I've got, a trigger after something has happened and then something else has happened. So for example, maybe I've I've logged in many times as myself and I failed, and then all of a sudden I log in and I'm successful, all right? Maybe that you can have a chain type rule. Again, a series of events that appear in the same window time frame. And then aggregation rules. This is where, I can have a combination of different rules kind of combined together. So if John Meredith does not successfully log in and John Meredith is out of the country and John Meredith is no longer employed with the company, that's probably a good rule. Speaking of that, we do have rules when accounts have been disabled, accounts have been turned off, accounts have been removed, and somebody's trying to log in with that account. Those rules are built in. They're part of the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So the point is, you and I can look and deal with these rules as we see fit. You can create rules, okay? All right, that being said, then let's, like I said, wrap this little rascal up. So as you guys can see, our Cloud SIEM Advanced product, along with our Cloud SIEM product, allows you to take your AWS information and take it to a whole nother level. I'm going to skip these slides because, again, the purpose here was to modify about rules. So I can modify existing rules without having to rewrite them from scratch. Again, I can also apply a rule tuning for that, and that may save me some effort. I can apply multiple tuning rules, or a tuning rule to multiple rules if I want to. So again, maybe I want to make an exception for the person that maintains my firewall. And I find that that affects a couple different rules. My firewall rules, maybe my some other special application ports and management type rules. So I can take a tuning rule and apply it to multiple rules. I can obviously take multiple tuning rules and apply it to a single rule too if I want. So this can all be crossed out. And we also provide and maintain your rule base. So if we maintain your rules, we will maintain them and update them, and they immediately get applied. By the way, if you take one of our rules and you apply rule tuning to it, and we update the rule, it'll still be applied to that new rule, that updated rule. So you don't have to worry about that. If you create a rule and you apply a tuning rule to it, and you need to change that rule, then you need to change that rule. We don't maintain those. Those are yours. Okay. So you've had a chance to see, like I said, our audit compliance, our Cloud SIEM, and our Cloud SIEM Advanced. Any questions per se? So you'll find we've got a bunch of short videos. If you go out to YouTube and you do a search for Sumo Logic, you'll see we got a whole bunch of videos on rule tuning, creating rules, custom insights, all that. We are in the process of working on some courses for the Cloud SIEM Advanced, but the other Cloud SIEM product we have classes for. And of course, as a trainer, I'd be remiss in my duties not to encourage you to check those out. And again, we have our documentation, which again, you can get to through help.sumologic.com. Before I turn you loose on the exam, I wanted to do a couple things. I want to give Tony a chance to see if there's anything he wants to say before I take you to the exam. And then also, I also wanted to introduce, nope, he's not here right now. Introduce one of our other folks who's also on the call, Anselmo, but I don't think Anselmo's here. So Tony, is there anything you want to say, sir?
Yeah, thanks, John. Really just a quick thing. I'm sending out the Uber Eats right now, and actually I just sent it, so you should receive it in your email. If you haven't seen them, please check your spam folder. So yeah, so you should have that $25 Uber Eats gift card to the email you registered with us. And also, once again, definitely support our program by filling out the survey, and I'll share that link in the chat window again. Thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else have anything they want to share before I take us out to the exam? Okay. So if anybody has any questions, now is a great time to ask them. And let me see if there's anything in the chat box regarding questions. So excellent. All right. Who is the Uber Eats email from? Somebody asked the question. Who is the Uber Eats email?
I'd be honest, I don't know. I just purchased from Amazon.com.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody, if you receive that email, please reply to the chat window so other people can check it.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, so obviously you want to make sure you get that credit. So as far as the training goes, I think somebody sent you out a pre-registration information type thing. And so hopefully you all went out to partnertraining.sumologic.com. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and put this URL into the chat, but hopefully you all did this already. You got an email yesterday and you did this, but let me just go ahead and put this in there. Put this in the right people. There we go. So you want to go to this URL. And again, when you go to this URL, I'll go to it. If you've got an account, it should let you and log you right in. If you do not have an account, I sign out, then the first time you go here, you have to sign up. And when you sign up, it's going to ask you for an access code. Now, the access code for this, if you'll bear with me just a second, I'll get it for you. There we go. But you should have gotten this in an email that came to you yesterday. But if you need to create an account, again, here is the access code. Boy, I can't type to save my life today. There you go. Okay. So then if you do a sign up, if you need to do a sign up, okay, type in the access code or paste the access code in, type in your information. You do a sign up, then you can sign in. And when you sign in, you will see under here, there's a section called Get Certified. This is our partner training portal. And under Get Certified, you will see this brand new Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM powered by AWS logo down here. And you can go in here and you should be able to take the exam. And you technically have 60 minutes for the exam. It's 20 questions, multiple guests. If you get stuck on a question, do not be bashful and feel free to ask me. I will try to help you out, but it is open note, open book, open documentation. You can even ask me. Our goal here is to help you. Passing score is a 70. And if for some reason you don't pass it and you want to take it again, you can take it again immediately or do whatever you want to do. So when you go in here and says, I'm ready to start, here's your questions. Go to and have yourself a good time. So when we get land speed violations, aka that Superman queries, we typically use that to trigger an alert, right? That's what we're going to do with it. Trigger an alert. And so we go on to the next question, right? Which of these filters is not on that global baseline? Again, you can go back here to Sumo Logic. And if you go into our, by the way, you can use this, this account that you're logged in as Insights. And you can go find in here that global insight. I think it said 01. And I believe the question was, which of the following filters? So up here where my filters are, which one is not there? So bottom line is you can go through and take this exam. And when you're done, you're welcome to sign out. And I hope you all pass the exam. Any problems or questions, let me know. I'm going to turn on my camera for a second. And again, I want to thank you all for attending. I appreciate you spending the time with us today. And I hope to see you in the future at some location, some AWS event or something. So please be safe. Please be careful. And thanks a lot for spending the time with us. Have a good one now.